Today we're going to play a game specifically designed to test your spatial awareness. Meet the Brain Games Double Dutch team. Now, what does jumping rope have to do with the brain? Well, Double Dutch requires off-the-chart spatial awareness. And today, these kids are going to help us test yours. For this game, all you have to do is keep track of the number of times that either of the girls in green jumps. You'll count each time one of them lands a jump, like this.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
As you can see, these jumpers are pretty quick on their feet, so you're going to have to pay attention to keep up. When the whistle blows, start counting. Ready? Go. So, how many jumps did the green team make? Did you say 38? If so, you agreed with 40% of our test audience. Now, some of you may be onto us, but for those of you who aren't, did you happen to notice anything else going on during the Double Dutch? Maybe a giant chicken strolling right through the middle of the set and doing a funky chicken dance? Now, some of you may have missed that funky chicken, but many of you probably saw it, and that's okay, because the chicken was just there to distract you too. Here's the real question. What color was the wall behind the Double Dutch game? Here's a hint. It wasn't the same color at the end as it was when they started jumping. The back wall was changing color the entire time, from bright blue to bright red. Nearly everyone misses it. But why? It turns out there's far too much information coming in through the eyes at any given moment for the brain to fully process all of it. As a result, the brain has to act like a spotlight, focusing our attention on some parts of the scene but not others. Now, most of you were probably paying attention to the jumpers, and some of you may have suspected that something strange was going to happen, and so you saw the chicken. But you probably weren't paying attention to the back wall. And what we don't pay attention to, we don't see. And hey, for those of you who managed to catch everything so far, did you notice that we also swapped the rope turners out halfway through?
So that video talked about a spotlight in the brain that that can only focus in on certain things. And that's the part of the brain that we're talking about now. It's a really fascinating part of the brain, and it explains so much in life. So this part of the brain that we're learning now it's something that runs through the hindbrain up through the midbrain. So on our next module, we're going to learn that the midbrain is from about here to here. And so it's this network of fibers that runs through the hindbrain, through the midbrain, and reaches up to the thalamus, which will be in the forebrain right here. So here's the cerebellum, here's the pons, here's the medulla, and this is a medial view. So what this reticular formation, or the ascending reticular activating system, what it does is it regulates your attention, arousal, and wakefulness. And what it does is whatever you think about, this is your thinking part of the brain, whatever you think about, it kind of primes this reticular formation to look for it. So here's an interesting, is we can only see a certain amount, which is what you saw in the last video. So here's it says the art of being wise is the art of knowing what to overlook. We can't possibly focus in on everything. We can only focus in on a certain amount, or else the brain would get overwhelmed. And then I love this quote here. It says, this is, by the way, this book right here is one of my favorite books. I have all my sons read it, my students who I kind of mentor, I always recommend this book to them. Maybe you would like to read it. It's called Into the Magic Shop, and it's a neurosurgeon's quest to discover the mystery of the brain and the secrets of the heart. It's kind of it's similar to, if you've ever heard of the book called The Secret, and what The Secret says is it says that with your mind you draw things towards you. But that's not really what neuroscience believes. Is it's not so much that we believe that you draw things towards you, but we do know about this reticular formation. And this guy is a neurosurgeon, and look at what he writes. Intention is a funny thing, and whatever the brain puts its intention on is what it sees. We have another quote here. We don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. So whatever you think about on a regular basis, it kind of primes this reticular formation to look for it. So for example, if you're always worried about your weight, you probably notice other people's weight. And isn't it funny, I always do this in class, if you've bought a new car, is you start seeing that car everywhere. Or if you really like a car and it's a unique car, like probably nobody else would notice it, but since you like that type of car, it's almost like it can be in your peripheral vision and your brain will automatically pay attention to it. So basically, whatever we focus on, it kind of primes this part of our brain to see. So isn't that, have you ever like wanted to see something bad in someone, and that's actually what they've shown, is they've shown that like your first impression, your first gut is kind of the vibe that you'll have off of somebody. So if you have this gut vibe as I don't like them, then the brain primes the reticular formation just to look for the things that substantiate that initial gut reaction of I don't like them. So they'll only see kind of the bad things that they do. And if you primed yourself to really like somebody, then you tend to overlook the negative things they do and see the positive things. In fact, when they study couples that stay in love for long periods of time, they find that that's exactly one of the reasons why they stay in love, is they tend to just overlook the bad part and they only see the good things. I tell a story in class sometimes about there was this monk and he built this brick wall, but there was a couple of bricks that were out of place that he just couldn't get to lay right. But every time that he looked at that wall, all he could see were the bricks that were out of place. And so he kind of wanted to hide that wall. He didn't want anybody to see it. But one day, a guest came to the monastery and said, "Oh, I would really like a tour." And so they went and toured around, and he was trying to skip over the brick wall, but the man said, "Oh, what a beautiful brick wall. Somebody put a lot of work in it." And the monk said, "What are you talking about? Can't you see that there's some bricks out of line?" And he says, "Yes, I see a couple bricks are out of line, but I see all the bricks that are in line were so well done." And that's kind of like life and relationships. Do we want to focus on the tiny little things that we don't have or that are missing or that we don't like? Or do we want to focus on the broad scope of things that are right in our lives? So anyway, this is the reticular formation. It's a really fascinating part of the brain, and we test it sometimes in my classes. Is I tell them to pick some kind of a noun, and I say, okay, let's look for this noun. For example, just recently, it was my students chose a monkey, and I didn't realize it. So we were all supposed to look for monkeys, and I didn't realize it, but it was actually last year when they decided that the monkey was So the way that you can think of the reticular formation, and I think that this is something that you can really utilize in your life, is have a vision of what you want to see and then really start looking for it. So the reticular formation is it's like a water filter. Is basically it filters out certain things so you can't see them, and then it only lets other things up. So if you're focusing on what you don't want to happen, then that's kind of actually what your brain is looking for. But when you focus on what you do want, then your brain can start looking for these things. If you believe that most people are good, then you will probably see people doing good things. If you believe that most people are bad, then you will probably notice more of the bad things. So again, we don't see, let's go back to this quote just to end this. We don't see things as they are. I tried to show you this with different videos. We see things as we are.
At the end of the day, this is a game of focus.
Very clever.
All right, now, attention is like a spotlight. And our job is to dance in the darkness.
I didn't even feel you take that.
The human brain is slow, and it cannot multitask.
Jesus. When...
Human behavior is very predictable. I touch you here, I steal from here. I tap you here, I steal from here. I step to here. You're not gonna slap my face, are you?
Why?
You would if you knew where my hand was.
Okay. I get it. I get it.
You get their focus. You take whatever you want.